So it seems we've got the teaser of a new Sisters miniature, a stompy new Dreadnought rolling out this week, Games Workshop doing rather well on their financial statements, a new teaser of the return to Cadia with something shadowy lurking in the darkness, and some brand new combat patrol rules. Time for a big roundup of what's going on in Warhammer 40k over the past few days. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're talking Warhammer 40k news, rumours and teasers. And in this video I thought I'd round up a whole load of topics that caught my interest over the past few days, but didn't really need an entire video all to themselves. First up, let's start with a conspicuous new teaser, and Games Workshop's rumour engine seems to be giving us a bit of a hint as to new Sisters of Battle on the way. The teaser itself maybe isn't the most specific if you look at it without any context, but basically the styling of this wing is pretty much exactly identical to the ones that you can see on the Cherubs here. You can tell it's supposed to be a manufactured one as opposed to an actual more organic bird thing, and literally everything's the same as these couple of Cherubs here, from the more single massive feathers at the top left of it with the spiky bits and the long front, and then 3 banks of feathers done under it in a similar style. I think it's pretty safe to say that this one is an Imperial Cherub, and most likely of the Sisters of Battle, given that they're the ones that tend to use them most. I guess it's not completely impossible that it could be something Space Marine, like let's say the Devastators had an Armorium Cherub with them, though I feel like that's not really been a route they've gone down quite so much in the Primaris age of things. My first guess would certainly be Sisters, but given that we've already had their Codex release for 9th edition, it means it's very unlikely to be any sort of mainline release for them. With the way that Games Workshop does things, they like to put things all together in big waves, so while not impossible, it makes it a bit less likely that it's just a random character miniature or part of a vehicle kit or something. So perhaps the most logical thing feels like it could be Kill Team. The Sisters already have a Kill Team in their Novitiate box set, but I guess there's the potential they could do either a new unit or maybe an upgrade sprue for the Battle Sisters. If they did that, maybe something to represent a veteran Celestian squad with bolters could be quite a nice move. That was another one of their units that they had removed due to them not really having any official models at the start of 10th edition. Whether or not it could be them, I could easily see a Kill Team for Sisters having a Cherub along for the ride. I feel like the Kill Teams often have their little pets and mascots along. That's been my first guess in any case. Let me know your thoughts though, any other ideas for what this could be? I did see some people making jokes online about the wings that the Sanguinary Guard should have got. Next up, it's now been a few days since the Deathcore Krieg box went on sale, and when I checked it on the launch very shortly after, on the day of, there were still ones for sale in the UK and USA, but unfortunately that didn't seem to last. A few days after the box set going on pre-order, I thought I'd do a poll as to how many people wanted to buy one but couldn't, and it looks like out of the people who actually wanted to pick one up, only around about half of people were able to get one. 56% were able to buy, whereas 44% wanted one but couldn't. In the sort of expectations and analysis video I made of the release, it does seem that people were pretty right to be sceptical as to how long these would last. Most people were expecting them to be gone within the day within their area, and it does look like that was the case for the EU, UK, USA and Canada. It looks like for the UK and EU web store, the boxes were in stock until at least fairly late in the launch day. They went really quite quickly in the USA, and they've still been available in Australia and New Zealand, at the downside of being at the prices that you have to pay in Australia and New Zealand. Maybe not the best news for people wanting to get their hands on the shiny new Deathcore figures. It does seem that at least a fair few discount stores still have some on offer. Kutami still seem to have some of the English versions in Germany. A store called Toy Snowman, who sponsored a few videos on the channel, has a few copies left in Canada. And the video sponsor today in Warhaus still has some available over in Australia. I haven't seen too many people still saying they've got some in either the USA or UK. Feel free to let us know if there are any places still stocking it down in the comments, as I'm sure there's a good few hobbyists that would still like to pick one up if they're available. Broadly, it does still seem like quite a lot of them were made as best I can tell, but they were also really popular, so sold out fast. And again, it maybe looks like the USA and Canada has the lowest amount of stock allocated to them compared with demand. One other option for people looking to pick them up is to see if any of the Games Workshop brick and mortar stores have them going when they go live on the 25th of January. I think they usually have an allocation towards their physical stores, so that could be another route to track them down if there's one local to you. Never exactly the best look for Games Workshop though if they wind up hyping up a box and lots of people do want to buy it, and a good amount of people can't because they weren't ready to go on launch day. Before we move on, as mentioned, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor in Warhaus in Australia. A fairly new gaming store shortly to open in Brisbane, building up their stock currently and planning to stock much of the Games Workshop range at 23% off Games Workshop prices. Sounds like they've got big plans for the future. They reached out to me to sponsor a few videos to get the word out that they exist. Their website's now live and their store shortly to open at this address in Corinda, and they do all the normal things that a Warhammer discount retailer would be expected to do. They're able to backorder Games Workshop stock in. If there's anything that you want that's not currently in stock on their site, they have $10 shipping Australia-wide and free over $150 Australian dollars. They've just launched their reward points scheme as well if you've got an account for additional discounts above that really big 23%. As mentioned, they've still got some stock of that Deathcore of Krieg box set, and at one of the best discounts around. But in any case, a big thank you to them for sponsoring the video. I'll link their Instagram and website in the video description if you'd like to check them out. Next up, and it seems that Games Workshop's really going into full hype mode with their return to Cadia teasers, this being their upcoming Warhammer Plus animation, where they had the initial hype for that the other week, basically done as one of their Hammer and Bolter style shorts, but taking the animation to the next level. Rather than the sort of hand-drawn comic book kind of style, this one's going for a bit more of a gritty and real effect, and will be a standalone episode dropping next week apparently. In the new teaser, there's a similar sort of build-up with the overall shot of the fragment of Cadia that the regiment is returning to, a shot of the squad moving through the ruins, torches and lasguns at the ready, then a few all very dramatic action shots, and what looks like a las pistol being turned against an officer. Then we've got something all very shadowy looming out of the darkness, and the launch date for the animation going live on the 22nd of January apparently. I was sort of expecting that with a squad of guardsmen adventuring into the shadows of their fallen planet, they might be finding things that they didn't really want to, and it does seem that that's going to be the case. Taking a second look at that still of their assailant as well, it looks like we might have an identity for them. That looks all very Heretic Astartes to me, possibly a word bearer or maybe some Gal Vorbak possessed or something. And I must admit, I wouldn't hugely fancy the guard squad's chances if they're going to be trying to go toe-to-toe with him. In any case, should be a fun little animated short, though as is often the case with the downside of being behind the Warhammer Plus paywall. Next up, and for the releases this week from Games Workshop, it looks like it's Heresy and Old World. These ones will be going up for pre-order on Saturday the 18th of January, so full releases in stores on the 1st of February. For the Horus Heresy stuff, there's the new loadout of a Deredeo Dreadnought, plus 3 more vehicles for the solo Auxilia. For the Dreadnought, it looks like it's the other loadout that they had in resin that's coming to plastic. This one builds the Arachnus heavy las cannons, or the great big Volkite weapons, plus the bigger, more solid shot missiles, as opposed to the multi-rocket launcher that the other variant has. It seems that they're going to be priced the same as the original one. There's either the option to buy the Dreadnought as a full kit for $84 or £52, or you can get the weapons alone direct for $30 apparently. I guess some current Space Marine collectors for 40k might have some interest if you particularly like your Dreadnought variants. This guy does have some 40k rules in the Legends of the Horus Heresy section. I feel like if you just wanted to use the model, he'd make really quite a good proxy for the Ballistas Dreadnought if you wanted. Just take the las cannon loadout, and that basically gives you something with 2 las cannons and a great big missile launcher. It even has the heavy bolters that you could just fire as the storm bolters on that. As it goes, it does feel like a fairly reasonable proxy. Otherwise though, as well as the new Dreadnought variant, there's also these 3 vehicles, an Arvis Lighter which still seems to be in use in Warhammer 40k at the moment, judging by the fact that there's one in that return to Cadia sequence, and I think there's still some Legends 40k rules for it as well. And then otherwise there's solo Auxilia patterns for the Malcador Infernus and the Valdor Tank Hunter. In particular, I feel like there's really quite a lot of love for the Malcador Infernus, just with that ridiculously enormous flame cannon, so much so that you need to have an entire extra trailer with the tank for the fuel on it. It is maybe a bit of a shame that the Forge World rules for Guard are going to be broadly wound down. As per the points page earlier today, it seems that the only non-Legends things left in 40k will be the Cyclops Demolition Vehicle and the Strike Fighter. Otherwise, for the week's releases, it's another Empire Old World release week. It seems that this is the one where all of the new Forge World miniatures are coming out for them. All the 5 characters that you can see sort of towards the right of the screen are all new models, done in Forge World resin for a new take on the classic game style. In general, they've been at least fairly well received. There's also a whole bunch of more classic plastic and resin kits returning, like that steam tank. Next up, Games Workshop's recently released their financial statement. This one's their numbers for the past 6 months, with their sales and profit reports ending at the start of December. They had reported that they'd broadly been doing rather well prior to that, which seemed to drive enough interest in their share prices to get them listed on the FTSE 100 within the UK. Now the figures and half-year report are all out. It just generally shows their money and profits going up. The ones on the right are their core sales, not including licensing, which has been growing quite a bit. But it seems that broadly their core business is doing really well as well. Going from 83 million operating profits to 98, it would seem. It looks like compared with the previous year, the biggest growth has been selling to trade, which is basically selling to discount retailers. I'm maybe not really too surprised to see that that's going up as a number, given that it's kind of the logical way to buy most Warhammer things. Aside from just convenience, I guess most people would want to go to the Warhammer web store if they've got things that aren't in stock in other places, like the discount box sets that they often don't give too many to the discount retailers, or maybe things like Forge World models or direct only things that not quite as many discount retailers might stock. Probably the most impressive thing is that this core number's gone up by quite a bit, despite the fact that this isn't a big Warhammer 40k release year, and it does seem that they've been beating out the time of years where the Leviathan box set came out and then the Space Marine and Tyranids after that, perhaps due to a big influx of people who played the Space Marine 2 game and wanted to check out this Warhammer thing. It seems their licensing numbers have gone up quite a bit as well, rising from around about 11 million to 30 million. I'd guess that's probably Space Marine 2 numbers coming in once again. Broadly speaking, it looks like Games Workshop are doing really quite well, though as always comes with a little bit of annoyance with the fact that they're this massively profitable, they could afford not to charge quite as much as they do on their core kits if they'd like. Next up, it seems that White Dwarf has got a bit more Warhammer 40k content, basically with 2 new combat patrols getting some rules in it. The Scions get their own one in the Strike Platoon Gorgon 6, and the Necrons get one in the Mindflender's Murder Court. These ones won't be new box sets or anything like that, but basically an extra rule set if you want to play these in-game. I guess good if you've already got the models, and probably because it's Games Workshop trying to drive sales at least a little bit, or maybe people getting a few more together to try them out. For their rules, it looks like the Strike Platoon one is this configuration: a Tempestus command squad, 2 sets of 10 Scions and a Taurox Prime. The squads do have kind of weird loadouts though. The Scions get 2 grenade launchers, a hotshot volley gun and a melter gun, and the command squad ditches all the fun stuff and just takes 1 plasma gun. So not really a loadout that you'd normally assemble those guys with. I was interested to take a look at the datasheets as well in the context of the latest Guard Codex, and it looks like these ones also do not have Deep Strike written on them either. Maybe even more evidence that it wasn't really just a misprint and they were intending to take it away from them at some stage. Otherwise the datasheets do pair up with the Codex pretty well. The Tempestus Scions get reroll wound rolls, replacing the hit rerolls, and the Taurox missile launcher is the new single shot with twin links profile. In any case, could be another way to play Guard at combat patrol level if you'd like to. For the core rules you get orders, but only the take aim, take cover, and duty and honour orders. The commander gets an enhancement of either stealth and deny overwatch for their unit, or the bearer's unit getting the pistol keyword and a 5+ overwatch. The secondary choice is either about holding the home objective and 1 in no man's land, or just slaying enemy units on objectives for 3 victory points each. And then the strike force has 3 stratagems, 1 for a sticky objectives, 1 triggered at the end of the command phase, 1 for essentially move with a +3 inch to your move, and 1 fun one for an interesting 3+ shoot on death after the enemy declares targets, so most of an infantry squad firing, but the Taurox basically gets it automatically. Otherwise, the Necrons get their Mindflender's Murder Court, and it is kind of what I expected it would be from the name, led by a Psychomancer with the Mind bit, and then with a bunch of flayed ones for the flensing. And they also have a unit of 5 Immortals with the Gauss Blasters, and 2 sets of Ophidian Destroyers, where they don't get their datasheet rule, and neither do the flayed ones, just their inbuilt things like Deep Strike and Infiltrate. The Necrons get their reanimation protocols. The Psychomancer has a choice of enhancements between a big damage boost against things that are battle shocked, or the chance to reanimate after his squad loses some models, so I guess some reanimating Immortals perhaps. For the secondaries, you and your opponent choose a unit, and if you kill each one then it's 6 victory points, and then an objective scoring 1 at the end of each command phase, 2 VP if you hold the same amount, or 4 VP if you hold more. Finally, for the stratagems, there's a reroll one of rerolling ones to hit when shooting or fighting, and that goes to all hit rerolls if the target's battle shocked, which the Psychomancer might help out with. A 1 command points to move d6 plus 1 inches when the enemy falls back from you, and a 1 command points to hand out a battle shock test when the enemy shoots at you with a -1 within 12 inches, which might be a bit on the niche side. Again, could be a few fun rules for Necron players there, though I do feel like you need quite a lot of models that maybe people don't have that many of in their collections, unless you have really quite a lot of Necrons on the go. Finally, for model reveals, it looks like there was a Warhammer Underworlds kit leaked at the weekend. There were photos of a box set on the top right going around. Apparently they're called Borgit's Beast Grabbers, a few fun night goblins and a troll thing. Some cool details on these guys, and a whole bunch of fun snotlings running around. For next things for Warhammer 40k though, I guess it'll be off to the LVO for the next reveals. They'll be coming out in around about 24 hours time or so. Of the all rather unhelpful time of 5 AM in the morning here in the UK, I'll certainly be ready to make a video. And there's going to be previews for 40k, Age of Sigmar, the Old World, Necromunda, and Black Library. For Warhammer 40k, it looks like we're going to be getting the main release for the Emperor's Children, so it should be really good there. We've got the silhouette of what can only be Lucius the Eternal, so I'm guessing that we'll see the main thrust of the range with this one. New Noise Marines, maybe some raised cultist equivalents, and whatever sort of fancy elites they decide to unleash for these guys. And I'd probably not be expecting too much else for Warhammer 40k, though it's not impossible we could get something Imperial Knight related, or the reveal for that leaked Death Guard model perhaps. Otherwise for Necromunda, there's some sort of bug thing maybe coming from the Ash Waste. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit more about that. And even though Heresy wasn't listed, they teased this Thanatar Calyx Automata. I'm not sure whether that one will actually be at this preview show or not though. Seems like they're sending some mixed messages, not saying Heresy will turn up in the announcement, but also teasing a Heresy model in the trailer to promote the show. In any case though, I look forward to covering those when they're out. Let me know your thoughts on all the things talked about today. What do you reckon that Cherub will be accompanying for the sisters? Let me know what you make of that Cadia preview. Did you manage to get a Deathcore of Krieg box set? And will any of you be picking up any Solar Auxilia or Deredeo Dreadnought? As mentioned, a massive thank you to Warhaus for sponsoring this one. Feel free to check them out, links down in the video description below, if you'd like some Warhammer at 23% off Games Workshop prices and you live in Australia. I'll leave this one there for now though. If you'd like to see more like this, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming, with new ones out just about every day. Finally, if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to check out the channel's Patreon page, links in the video description. Channel patrons do get a few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with the chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.